getting her laid out how I want it, I think. Run the compressor, just run all this to this side of the trunk so that I have room up there for a sub box, maybe a spare battery, amplifiers, and still have room for 1 or 2 dead bodies. Let's see. So I'm gonna make a little bracket that holds that slam manifold up above the tank. Just kind of mount it up there to maximize this room, and then run, maybe do hard lines down to here, drill those through front, back, and then have those run up the rest of the way. Mount the compressors behind the tank there. They'll run in through, I've got a pair of these SMC water traps, so that will be nice. I don't have to worry about that too much. I had some 45s, I need 90s. The pressure switch mounts to the bottom of the tank. There's a hole already drilled and tapped. So yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna end up doing. I've got the nuts soaking in PB Blaster right now. I need to drop the fuel tank so I don't drill down into it. That would not be good. And then I've got some rust pinholes to patch up. Those won't be too bad, but I need to figure out what I'm doing here. She's seen a little bit of salt in her day. You know, just a wee bit. Anywho, I think that'll do me in for tonight. Tomorrow after work, I'm gonna come out and fab up my bracket, drop the tank, and start punching some holes. Hopefully, I can get everything bolted down, start running lines tomorrow night, and then by Tuesday night, I can get underneath the car, get her up on jack stands, pull the front springs out. I need to clearance the upper spring pocket a little bit, and then I've got the brackets in the box there. Mount my brackets in, throw the bags in the front, and in the back there's a little perch that needs to be cut off. You can't see it. There's a little nub that sticks up off the back axle. You have to trim that off and then mount the brackets, and then you're good to go. So, not difficult, just a little time consuming. I'm probably gonna try to save the springs in case I ever sell this thing and whoever buys it wants them. I don't think I'll probably ever sell it, but it's a good option to hang on to at least. Once I get her bagged, then I'll worry about cosmetics. I think what I want to do is paint the roof ivory, sand some of this white down, see if I can't get that a little less vibrant. But then I want to paint the roof ivory, come down to like here. I need to fix that rust as well. That's not good. Come down to here and then do like a double scallop along this body line up to window on the B-pillar. Then do some lowrider style graphics, endless lines, water spots, sun rays, the works. Do it in kind of a bluish, tealish green to match the rest of the factory paint. I think that looked pretty dope. And then pick up my pinstripe brush and put a little something on the rear deck lid and up on the nose. Give her a little pop. Anywho, that's where I'm at tonight. I'm shutting her down. So every once in a while, a feller needs to do something that might make the old boys down at OSHA scream at their TV. I had to come in and torch out the bolts that hold up the tank. The nuts were so rusted on there. This thing's, I'm sure they haven't been touched in God knows how long. What, this car's a 65, it's 2021, so it's, what, 56 years? I'm sure they haven't been touched since she was new, so they weren't gonna budge. So, fired up the torch, blasted them out. Now I can drop the tank and start punching some holes. Alright, doing a bit of rust removal. It's always a good time. She was pretty rotted. A little worse than it looked. I found some pinholes there were some there. I didn't drop the fuel tank all the way out, but I let it down a little bit so I don't jab into her. I also discovered this under a whole bunch of old seam sealer. I need to discover what that is, but she used to be black back here at one point. That's interesting. That won't be too bad. Put a little patch panel there. You can see daylight down through there as well. That one's gonna be fun to fix. Need new body mounts. Sorry, this video is a little shaky. Made a kind of a strange shaped cut here, but my holes for my compressors, I already punched those out. I used some rivnuts. Drilled a couple of those in for the tank. So, I'm gonna get some patches made, clean off the edges. I started to with the flap disc and didn't get around to finishing because it's a dusty, dirty, nasty job. This side is just all kinds of crud. Just decades of rust. On that side, I need to finish trimming off that little back lip. This side will be not so bad. I don't know. Good times. Well, I'm making myself some patch panels, cutting them out and dropping them in. Ended up torching a little bit more out than I initially planned. But I think I'm down to good metal in pretty much every location, so just a matter of cutting them out and welding them in. These ones are going to be a little weird because I kind of have to, there's a little bit of curve to them, so I kind of got to massage them a little bit. Shouldn't be too difficult though. Once I get those in, I ran over to the old Dollar General, picked up some of their store special undercoating. So once I get those all welded in, I will go through and put down a coat of that. Eventually I'll torch the whole floor out and get a whole new drop-in floor pan and go from there. But for now, it'll get me by. But of course, I ran out of wire in the MIG. I don't really feel like firing up the old tombstone welder over there. I've got some small diameter rod, but I'm pretty sure I'd immediately blow a hole through, so not gonna even try that. I'm doing some massaging with the old Tanya Harding, getting her to lay in nice. Tried to do some plug welds, but those only half worked, so I'm going around the edge and putting tacks around the outside of each panel. Other than that, I've got a little bit right there. I'll just cut a sliver off of that, because that's right on where this brace comes across at, and you can't really do anything with it. But she's getting there. I'll go ahead and cut out these panels and get them laid in where they're supposed to be, and then tomorrow after work I'll have to pick up another couple spools of wire so I don't run out again, and finish her up, and then I can start bolting stuff in. I got a couple 90-degree fittings. I had some 45s, but they weren't gonna work, so I just ordered a couple 90s because for some reason the local hardware store didn't have any on hand. But I've got a 5-gallon tank from Airlift. I've got a Slam Specialties manifold controller. Man, she's pretty. I have Airlift Dominator D2600 bags and dual Viair 444s, and then brackets from BC Fab. So, and some SMC water traps, keep the moisture out. So, I'm gonna do some cutting. Got all my panels cut. They fit in pretty nice. I need to go in and do a little massaging on those. But those are pretty much ready to be welded in. And then I can move on to blasting some of that undercoating in, and then go in, and I've already done a couple rivnuts to mount the tank, and need to figure out how exactly I want to mount the compressors. I think I might make a sub platform that the compressor mounts to, and then use rivnuts and mount that platform to the car, just to make it easier on myself. I don't know. I'll do a little tinkering and figure something out. Welcome back, ladies and gents. Brief update. I did a bunch of work last night and then realized this morning that I had never recorded any of it. So I got all my patch panels in, did a little forming, got them beat into shape, close enough. They're in, they're tacked. They're not perfect, but they don't need to be for what I'm doing. And then hit it with a layer of this old Dollar General rubberized undercoating type stuff. Surprisingly, covers pretty well. I see now after it's dried that it's not quite as good as it looked last night. There's still a little bit peeking through, but not bad for Dollar General quality stuff. Probably just gonna get a little spray foam for now and seal up those sides. If Derek on Vice Grip Garage can get away with it, so can I. And then I've got holes rivnutted for the compressor, and then my tanks, mounting bolts, and then I'm gonna build a bracket for the manifold to bolt to. Let's see. If you've never used a rivnut before or never even heard of them, they're pretty simple. They're just a little aluminum or brass rivet, basically, with threads inside. And they're specialized tools to use them, but you can also just use a nut and bolt and nice flat washer. You assemble that like you would, and don't cinch it all the way down against it, but hang on, let me see if I can show you how to do this. All right, so they're pretty simple. You just take your nut and bolt and run the nut up most of the way, drop your washer on there, and this one's damaged, so I'm gonna flip it around. And then thread your riv nut on most of the way, and then tighten your nut down against it. And then take a couple wrenches. In this case, it's a 1/4 bolt, 7/16 hex. Just take a couple wrenches, and you want to loosen, so no, you'll be tightening, righty-tighty, you'll be tightening the nut, holding the bolt stationary. Hard to do up in the free air like this. And as you tighten that nut, if I can get it to work, it's just rotating. Yeah, it's just turning on me. Come on. We gotta show the fine folks how you work, not how you don't work. You gonna go? Nope. Sometimes they get a little fussy. Anywho, I have pinched down example here somewhere. Maybe not. Anyways, as you use them, that little splined portion fails and it collapses down and it pinches around the plate or sheet metal or whatever you're riveting to. It just collapses and creates a joint there, and once it's tight, it allows you to thread in a bolt without having to have access to the back side of the panel until you get a nut put on it. They're pretty handy little buggers, but I've used 6 of them there, and I'm probably going to try to figure out how to, I don't know, I can't really get back there to mount my compressors, because they just use a nut and bolt. So I might make a secondary plate for my compressors to mount to, and then mount that plate to the trunk floor. I haven't quite decided what I want to do there yet, so we'll see. Okay, so right now I'm trying to fabricate my bracket to mount the beautiful Slam Specialties manifold. It's got 2 in ports, in, and then 1 out for each corner, and then the exhaust port. So I want to mount this like right there. Tilt it forward just a little bit. I think that would look pretty cool. So that's what I did those 2 centered riv nuts for. Now I'm making my plate. That's trash. So this is my mounting plate for the manifold, and this is the base plate. Getting a little fancy with it. Problem is, I don't have enough of this angle iron, which is what I had planned to use for the uprights. Thought I had more of it than that. So my next obstacle is to figure out, do I cut this up and weld together my own angle iron out of that, or do I take a chunk of rectangle stock and cut it down the middle on either side, and lay it this way, cut it down the center there, and use those corners as my uprights. I think that's the route that I'm gonna go. That sounds the easiest anyways. And I mean, I have some of this, but that's far too heavy for what it needs to do. So I think this stuff will do the trick. Okay, so here's what I've got. I haven't decided yet if I want to notch it right about there and tilt her forward and then cant this back up a little bit, but it's not a bad little pedestal for this thing. She'll plop down on there like that, bolt in, and then run my fill lines. This is out of the tank, it'd go in there, and then my hard lines. I haven't decided if I want to do hard lines like stainless or copper, or just run some plastic tubing, but I'm gonna go over to like here on either side. I kind of screwed myself with that, but that's not a problem. That's outside of the frame rail. There's a frame rail right there, and so if I go right about here, it should be right about there, just on the inside of that frame, between where the frame and the tank would sit. So that looks all right. Do I lean it forward? I think I might. Yeah, it looks a little silly back there by itself. I think I'll notch those sides and tilt the whole thing forward a little bit. We'll lean the plate back up. Let's do that.